A very good day to you. I hope you're having yourself an amazing day. This is Friday updates, where we're going to be looking at, of course, everything that was making the headlines in Africa today. What was happening in each and every corner of Africa today and over the week? What were the headline hitters, of course, apart from the elections in South Africa? We're going to be looking at a lot of other things, including how dozens still remain trapped after a gold mine collapsed in north central Nigeria. Nigeria never really stops having problems. So in Nigeria, there was a gold mine that collapsed, and dozens of people are still trapped in there. Apart from that, we are going to be looking at how DRC Congo, a day after meeting with Russian foreign minister, is seeking to curb dollar dominance by mandatory use of local currency. So it's going to be mandatory for you to use the franc in all EPTs. EPTs means electronic payment terminals in DRC. So they're only going to accept Congolese francs. This, they say, is an aim that is meant to boost the use of national currency and reduce reliance on the US dollar, which has weakened the francs. Apart from that, we're going to be looking at uh, how an ally to Kaga, not really an ally, but an ally to Kagame,
What changed the definition?
a hiccup. That was a Wi-Fi, a network. We are looking at each and everything that was happening in Africa, and I was just telling you about see Congo after meeting up with the Russian foreign minister yesterday. Policy today. So the new financial policy is the dollar dominance that has been happening in DRC, and therefore you have to use the local Congolese franc in order for you to access all government services through what they call the electronic payment. In order for you to be able to see, in order for you to be able to have an access to use the Congolese franc. How are you doing, Keith?
I'm all right. How you doing?
Can you hear me, Keith?
I hear you. Yes.
I know you can,
Yes.
but I can't hear you. The network is new as you're breaking. So I was talking about DRC as I wait for and here, Keith. So the Central Bank of Congo, it's called the electronic payment terminals in the DRC should only accept to boost the use of national currency and reduce the reliance or really weaken the Congolese franc because the people of Congolese majorly use the dollar. So that is why the Central Bank of Congo today, yesterday with I don't know if the two are related with the Russian foreign minister. That is when they have come up with this new, now see people being mandatory this franc in payment of almost all government services use of the national currency and encourage the population to prefer it for. So these are calling the dollarization of the economy. And at the moment, I was checking, at the moment, only 13% electronic payment, the electronic payment terminals, that is, it is like the e-citizen in Kenya. That is where the people of Congo pay for government. EPTs in Congo accept Congolese francs, and you can messed up when only 13% of your government pay them in the of most of them favor the dollar. Police franc is among the weakest. Congo being a high exporting country, so it's still a franc at the end of the day. Not much is going this franc. It is a franc, so it is not even their currency, but at least they are in quotes currency. That is DRC. And in South Africa, there was a tornado that killed 11 and displaced thousands. Happened, and it has so far led to 11 African, which looks like it is more disaster preparedness. Was caught hands down on this. The response was really poor, and that is why even higher. And in DRC again, was making the headlines for all the reasons. So today also the people who led the coup, the Americans, Sunday was claiming that it had been denied access to. It was claiming that they to know their location or to see them. So today they were actually, and the trial is underway for the thwarted coup that happened. 50 people, including 3 Americans, appeared in a military court in the last month's failed coup. They are facing charges including terror, possession of weapons and arms of war, financing terror, an attempted coup that happened on 19th May. So 6 people were killed by a very little known opposition figure. Knew who he was. He was not that famous. Palace, that is, they wanted to overthrow Felix Tshisekedi, who there was no reason to overthrow. The reason I doubted that this coup was no reason for the West to want to overthrow Felix Tshisekedi, listen to whatever they say. So there was no reason for them to try and overthrow a while ago. So as Kid was saying, I think this was just a group of people that decided they can. So started with the US embassy still claiming that it needs to begin, it needs to provide consular services. So claiming that they are being denied access to the Americans face the ones that I mentioned according to the Congolese constitution. If the most of the charges that I've mentioned according to the Congolese constitution, that is attempted coup, possession of weapons and arms of war, are punishable by death. Will the Congolese courts have the sentence the 3 Americans to death?
Good. Make sure they all and put it on TV.
But I doubt that a phone call will be made from the president and to be sentenced to death.
Nah, no death. No
As
death.
the, Mhm.
No death. You're sentenced to death. No, no damn. No damn life penalty. You sentence. You get a bullet in the head. Is what you get. That's what you get. Treason.
It's really, really messed
No,
up. I can't even hear you, kid.
yeah, I can. Yeah, I can barely hear you too. You cutting in and out. The internet's so bad. And that's
I
terrible.
guess here I can't really get you. Apologies for the poor connection. In Sudan, a period of war, and a big shout out to Jiba Jaba who's with me. I hope you can hear me. Been going through a period of war, and it's getting worse and worse. Instead of it getting better, it's getting worse, and these were massacred. Those are the ones that have been by what is called the RSF. There is an group, a military group called the RSF in Sudan. They have not yet commented on accusations, but on Thursday, they so they are the ones who are being. I saw the images of the and 50 villagers were shot dead in central Sudan. Is a paramilitary group that has been fighting with the government. They have been battling over the control of the country and the Sudan for the last 13 months. If you can remember, this was started about a year ago. Was evacuating its
Actually, started longer than though. Longer than that.
this current back and forth the government military started about a year ago when they took over,
So
when the RSF was trying to take over the airports in ones that attacked a village and killed 100 and Gezira state. So there was a video that was doing rounds, the one that I too graphic, I can't really share it. Being minerally and I know the war in Sudan is basically more about control of in Sudan. The
show the
RSF,
oil, the diamonds, the uranium, show the resources.
yep,
Gold, the diamond, and the oil.
best with minerals is. If you want to know how bloody it is, look at Sudan. Else, all among the biggest oil producers in the concentrate on drilling their oil. But of course, they are never standards of living will always be pathetic because as a Sudanese, when you actually knowing what your oil was used do people being massacred on one day, and that is just in one day. They have killed 1 year, and they when they do that, they go more than 15,000 people are the ones who are estimated to have been killed. People, those are the ones that have been confirmed dead. Tried to end the war through peace talks, but of course, peace talks are not going to. Is a war that is not supposed to end. The longer it lasts, the more financed. So of course, those peace talks are going to get there are peace talks that are never going to amount to anything.
That war was decided
And
20
that
years ago.
mhm.
That war was decided 20 years ago, Demore. Not last year.
Mhm.
20 years ago. 2-0.
Quite a long time ago, about 20 years ago. Maybe it has just worsened.
Mm-mm.
Been there for the past
Mm-mm.
20
I
years.
went, I went,
Mhm.
I when America decided 20 years ago they were going to go into Sudan and destabilize it
Mhm.
and steal the resources.
So apart from catastrophe that is happening in Sudan, and that is with the fact that there is a war going on, so nobody is, and the government is not really concentrating on giving people on fighting. So there is also a hundreds of thousands of people not really facing but starving as we are speaking because
What
when
America
the whole
does,
countries
bring starvation and poverty. Why they keep talking about democracy? You're not doing our democracy. As they rob, steal, kill, cause theft, hunger, all kind of wicked shit. By screaming their big ass fucking democracy.
mhm. And it is the same thing that is happening in Ethiopia too. Ethiopia is
Yep.
period and not really even a simple Ethiopia because in Ethiopia it was the government forces that were massacring the people. And it is the same thing with the hunger in Ethiopia. Minister has been all over the world trying to ask, borrow. He was at the IMF where they gave him several billions for the same. He for help, especially with the war that is happening there and the it is even more ironical because the AU, which is supposed to be the Africa that which they allege is the body that is supposed to unify Africa, the same Ethiopia that is going through war right. their headquarters, can the UN be able to unite anything in where their headquarters are? How do you expect the same to go and African Republic when even where they are based, they can't control anything, can't have peace where they are based. They can't
Africans
even
don't run. Africans don't run
you
the AU. So
mhm.
Africans
Yep,
don't run that.
can't run an organization you do not finance. And in Nigeria
Exactly.
has been a very dark week for Africa. In Nigeria, there were more deaths as a gold mine that collapsed in north central Nigeria as
Wow.
on the streets on Monday protesting. Tinubu actually gave them a pay rise after they were given a new mandatory wage
How much?
proposal.
How much is that?
They are no longer striking in Nigeria. It looks like the government, the salary has not been increased yet, the wages. But however, as that was happening, another group of people was
How much is supposed to be?
somewhere in, come again.
How much they supposed to be making?
Yeah, as the workers were protesting, people was mining gold somewhere in north central Nigeria, and as they were doing, in collapsed, and dozens of them are dead. And the heavy rains thinning the soil, and that led to the collapse of the mine. Have are trapped at the moment, and in a nutshell, Nigeria is very rich in mineral, especially the of corruption, illegal operations, poor working conditions. So in northern Nigeria, they mine gold, but not even the emergency response. They don't even have an emergency response. Because that is in a world that claims to have its current, so they can't even have an emergency response in Nigeria as their that their financial system is backed by gold. On with its illegal operations, illegal mining that is by terrorism, as the Boko Haram is, and now all the focus goes into that illegal mining, most of the minerals, of course, apart from corruption, and from that, most of the mining in Nigeria is illegal. Take advantage of the wars and mine in the process. Boko Haram is terrorizing villages, is on trying to fight, go back. So that is Nigeria. It's going through war. Really, when I talk about countries going through war, then that is, I'm talking about Central African Republic. So in Central African Republic, taken over the country's fuel distributor. So very rich in they are actually dependent on the same, apart from of course having diamonds because of how bloody the war in, and majorly the war is because of the diamonds, and the war and the Muslims in Central African Republic being on each other, and the oil well. So also, so the CAR government has announced oil service stations. That is the main Central African Republic. That was because it couldn't even be able to pay salary contributing. So the almost all the fuel being the money was getting lost in thin air. The government was not getting was supposed to be getting. So now the country has decided to take over supply and drilling for the next 45 days to ensure they because there was not even regular fuel supply in Central African Republic, and they have large deposits oil wells for the next 45 days to ensure payment and tax contribution. That is according to their minister. They are opening their eyes and they have realized that they actually need to have if they are going to benefit at all from. Of course, the money is going to get lost again into corruption and country republic. It is not really going to shock anyone. Central African Republic and basically almost everything apart from the fact that in South Africa the for coalition are still ongoing, but Malema has withdrawn from the talks. They will never form a coalition with the enemy. So he claimed that he had earlier on table several things that had to be done ANC. However, he has now said that he does not want any enemy. Say that they through a post on Twitter, he said that this is a generational struggle, and we that should tell you that the next government in South Africa is Stevenson, who's the white man who was heading now about the South Africans election, and I'm almost because we already know what is going to happen. We already know they are going to have it and having a black president and a white vice president. So that was what was happening throughout the whole of Africa on a day where main trapped in Nigeria after a gold mine collapsed. Operations are not really happening because it is an area that is terrorist. There are a lot of terrorists in that has made rescue operations very difficult. India, by mandatory use of the local currency, you will by force the Congolese franc electronic payment terminals in over control of fuel drilling. The country was facing shortages and the salary payments being delayed. A tornado hit South Africa, killing about 11 people.
I know they had tornadoes in South Africa. Shit.
Yeah, it was a tornado that and so far. And in DRC, involved in a thwarted coup. It was thwarted because the 50 other people have been arraigned in court today with the U.S. Embassy access to the Americans because it needs to offer consular services.
What happened? US did what?
The U.S. Embassy
What about the USA?
asking, yeah, it is still asking to be allowed access. The government has refused the same.
No, yeah, the answer's no. Fuck you mean accent? The answer's no. They're gonna die, and that's the answer. They're dead and stinking. You're gonna get a bullet in the head. That's what's going on. Ain't nobody gonna see them talk about we request to see nobody to overthrow our government. You can see them when they're dead. When they're dead, you come visit their bodies. That's when you come see them.
The embassy was claiming that the family are just asking for proof of life. They just wanted to be assured
Well, you can have proof of life when I
based on the
when they're dead.
for them
When they're when
in
they're
court
dead,
today.
when they're dead, you can have proof of life when they're
But
dead.
I doubt Congo to actually shoot them, to actually
That's
kill them. I really doubt.
weak. Well, I'd have killed them. Any kind of treason is punishable by death. It's treason. So you wanted to commit treason. So hey, it means you wanted to lose, sacrifice your life. So hey, I'm going to give it to you. You want proof of life? There you go.
So that
They go to coffin. Oh, they're dead. That's what I'm saying. We're proving they're dead. That's the proof of life. There you go.
they were alive
All
alive.
right. They were live. They were live before they got their ass up in this coffin.
Yeah, and in South Sudan, 150 villagers were massacred on Wednesday.
You guys notice? You guys see all this scramble for Africa again? The same scramble happened again because they got to come back in because of their funny money's died. All these wars all across the African continent. That's why Africa's not allowed to ever stabilize itself and also build real infrastructure. They're not allowed to develop because without Africa, the white man's impoverished. He's back to being poor and fucked up. That's the dirty little secret nobody ever wants to really say right in your face. And when you oh, we had money. We can, if you had money, why'd you leave your? Anybody ask the European? I always used to ask them when they used to come on the show. If you were so great, why'd you leave Europe? If everything was so great in Europe is so great, why did you leave it and terrorize the rest of the goddamn world? Robbing, stealing, and raping and shit. If it was so great, why don't you stay up there and keep it for yourself? Because you knew it was all fucked up. That's why. You knew it was fucked up.
Yep,
Damn.
Africa is actually in war right now. If you look at I think only Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda is right now. All the other countries have a war going on.
Nah, yeah,
Ethiopia,
because
Somalia,
you guys have been good.
Somalia,
Guys have, you
Sudan.
haven't been trying to book. You haven't been trying to buck the system. God is a puppet state. King is a puppet state. You've been good puppet. No need to have no.
I can't hear anything. I think it was kids network. Ethiopian famine was big news when I was a child in the early 80s. The poverty. This time it's real because there is war going on in Ethiopia and the poor of Ethiopia. So they are dying of anger because of the war that is happening there. And ironically, headquarters there, which claims that it is fighting for the unif happening in Africa today. Join Joby in the next 9 minutes. I'm sure plan for you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'll be here tomorrow on family.